One, two, three, one, two, three, one, two, three. It's our living room. It's the 1970s. We watch Top of the Pops every week, and we love Pan's people. They dance with their arms and their legs going everywhere, and they're brilliant. Then we see the King and I, and the King says, "Shall we dance?" And they get all shy about holding hands and stuff. We can't really understand why they are calling it dancing. I mean, the way they dance like they do in all the old movies. "What is that?" I asked my mother. "That's how me and your father dance," she said. "I'll teach you." And I get my first dance lesson. My left hand in her right hand, my right hand on her lower back, her left hand on my right shoulder. I was leading. Man always leads, apparently. And one, two, three, one, two, three, one, two, three, etc., etc. We were going to a wedding, a family wedding, an Irish family wedding, a big, rambunctious Irish family wedding. It wasn't my family, though, it was Podrick's. His sister was getting married in Cork. Now, generally speaking, I don't really like weddings. I love the ceremony. I love that two people, in full view of everyone, announce their love and make promises to one another for life. I am, at heart, a romantic, but I would very happily go home straight after that. But the Irish wedding has a special quality to it, usually massive quantities of booze and long-lived resentments and prejudices that come to the fore, usually as a result of the consumption of that massive quantity of booze. And it lasts all day. There's the massive meal, the interminable speeches, the toasts, the wedding band, the first dance, then the disco, and rock the boat. Now, when Pod and I first got together, there was a tension between him and his parents about our relationship. They were typically old school devout Catholics who were not big into the gay thing, but were prepared to tolerate it in Podrick as long as he was celibate. Well, celibacy was not on the cards for us. Not then, not now, and not ever. Podrick's telephone calls home could be a tad fraught. They refused to acknowledge my existence and didn't really respond to anything that involved me. Podrick would repeatedly drop my name into conversations, hoping they would respond, but they just ignored it. They came to Belfast to visit and to stay with Podrick, but I was always upset myself because I just didn't want any stress. On one of their visits, Podrick had a little soiree at his place for them and invited a lot of friends to meet them. And he suggested I just turn up, but it didn't feel right, so I didn't. And they went back to Cork knowing I existed, but not having faced me in real life. Now, I think it's important not to demonize these parents. People who had met them, all sorts of people, gay, straight, and Australian, said they were lovely. A little idiosyncratic, perhaps, but nonetheless, everyone who met them said they were lovely. But this situation couldn't continue forever, obviously, as this was a pretty serious relationship, which by this stage had lasted 3 years, and it was upsetting for Podrick. After all, my children had embraced him with little problem, so why couldn't his parents embrace, metaphorically, me? Well, on a trip to Cork, I bonded with Podrick's dad, talking about Schrodinger's cat and gardening. And while his mum was friendly, I hadn't made a proper connection. I needed to break through. So bring on the wedding. Now, I didn't go there with a plan, not at all. I just went there to go to a wedding. And as we gathered at the Cork University Chapel, I braced myself for a collection of moralizing old Irish aunties and disapproving uncles, and was met by the friendliest bunch of people you could imagine. While I was in full social anxiety mode, they were beautifully welcoming, especially Auntie Margaret, Podrick's favourite auntie. She lived and still lives in England and used to send youngster Podrick paper plates every year to his great delight. She worked in a paper plate factory. Irish children in the 80s were very easily pleased. The wedding service was gorgeous, like the bride, of course, and Podrick sang. He was also very beautiful. Then it was on to the hotel, more mingling and social anxiety, and the day went on pretty much as expected. It wasn't a big boozy event, but there was enough drink consumed to ease my anxiety, and Podrick's too, by the look of things, as he was on the dance floor at one point, acting out Michael Jackson's Thriller routine, possibly the first time I'd seen him dance. And there was much dancing, and it turned out Auntie Margaret and her sisters were quite the movers, as I got absorbed into one of their grip dances, raunchy stuff. Then we hit the floor, literally, for Rock the Boat. Then it all slowed down a little, and suddenly it was waltz time. And it being a traditional Irish wedding, the men stood at the side of the dance floor or at the bar, while the women danced with each other or yearned to be asked to dance. Podrick told me his mammy was dying to dance, but his dad wouldn't dance. Now I had an idea. I saw a chance. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Striding over, I asked Anne if she would like to dance. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. She said yes. She put her right hand in my left. I put my other hand on her lower back while her left hand was on my right shoulder, and off we glided into a waltz. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. She talked throughout, and I couldn't hear a word. Loud music and a strong accent I wasn't quite attuned to. But I nodded at what I hoped were appropriate moments and used a range of expressions, not knowing if she was telling me some awful or some joyous news, just hoping I was getting it right. When the music stopped, I said thank you and went to sit with Podrick and his shocked siblings, feeling the job had been done. Anne and I had connected. I wasn't wrong. On Podrick's next visit to Cork some months later, she gave Podrick a blanket she had knitted for me. That's for Paul, she said quietly. I sent her a note of thanks, and she told Podrick there had been no need, but I think she was pleased, really. And now she regularly sends me up a slab of her homemade fruitcake, which I love. And although they haven't visited this year, obviously, when they do visit, they'll stay with us. All is good. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, etc., etc.
Thanks very much, Paul. That's beautiful. I obviously am biased about that. You did give away the fact that I used to have a paper plate collection when I was 8. I didn't even tell Sinead that.
I didn't think it was much of a secret project. I think it's been and even announced it yourself several times.
Yeah, Auntie Margaret used to work in the paper plate factory that made the paper plates for Super Ted. And so I used to have the most amazing Super Ted paper plate collection and paper bowls, and occasionally on good years get some paper cups as well. I was very excited. I used to arrange them on the dressing table just so. Yes.
But I thought it was about me.
Thanks very much for that lovely story. What inspired you? Like, did you go over thinking that you were just wanting to ask her out for dance, or did you know this was an opportunity to connect?
No, I felt sorry for her because I like a wee dance myself, and I always feel sorry for it's pathetic, Irish women who and their husbands just will not go take them out, and I just think that's ridiculous. So I just thought, yeah, and let's be honest, there was a few some drink taken. So I mean, if you were acting out Thriller, then I mean, me doing a little waltz was no great stretch.
Fair enough. Well, thanks very much for the lovely story. I'm going to mute.